In today's video, we're going to be going over the brand new DUMONT Nitro Gold, of course by the brand of DUMONT. They have quite a few popular releases within this lineup. Nitro Red Intensely, and Elixir are pretty well known, but that hype really got kicked off with Nitro Red a few years back. And so we're getting pretty deep with flankers now. As I mentioned, this one just dropped. Perfume Box is the only one that carries this right now, or the only website that carries this right now. So if you want to grab this, you're going to go through them. They've got it at $45. You can use my code CHAOS10 for 10% off. So you could save a little bit of money there if you do want to pick this one up. This is a 100 milliliter extrait concentration. This one also does have the magnetic cap as well, which they introduced, I believe, with Nitro Red Intensely. That's also when they started doing the Elixir or Parfum concentration more, I should say. And so they're kind of sticking with those changes here throughout the rest of the lineup, which I really like. For the money, these are great bang for your buck. And I got this one earlier on in the week. Perfume Box actually sent it over to me. They just said, hey, we sent you this and you can do a review on it if you want. And so when I got it in, I started wearing it, smelling it, and immediately was very impressed. It wasn't quite what I expected, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but nonetheless, I liked it from the first sniff. I've got some time behind it to where I've been able to wear it, check out performance, and just really kind of what I think about it. So we're gonna go over all of that stuff today. So let's go ahead and start off with how this one smells. Now, when you first spray this one on, you get hit with that relatively familiar DUMONT Nitro smell. And really what I'm referencing here is essentially kind of the Nitro Red type of fruity sweetness, and even that Nitro Elixir fruity sweetness as well. These are two that, again, are very popular. And one thing that I will say about this lineup that I like is I would describe them as being consistent. You know, they are not really branching too far away from that base DNA with a lot of these flankers. Now, some are going to make the argument that they're a bit too redundant, and really it just depends on your preference. I think that, at least from what I've seen so far, each one has provided enough of a different value to where I wouldn't say that. You could make that argument with Nitro Red Intensely, maybe because it's mostly a concentration change there and an intensity change. But like, for example, the Elixir version, even Platinum, and then this new Gold, they're different enough to where that's not a problem for me. And so you're getting hit with that smell, that original kind of familiar Nitro smell. But you also notice right away that there's a little bit of a twist, kind of an unexpected twist here. You do actually get a little bit of this rum kind of boozy sweetness. Now, the rest of the lineup is sweet leaning as well, fruity sweetness. The Elixir version kind of has that praline type of sweetness as well. So that's not uncommon. But in this one, it's a different type of sweetness. Again, just a little bit of this boozy kick here going on, which we haven't got yet. You're still getting the fruits, you're still getting the citruses. And even with all of that being said, you still get a very fresh, powerful, and kind of oceanic blast out of this one too, which again, maybe you wouldn't expect based on the current description of this. You might expect it to be very, very sweet and that's it. Simply not the case here. There is very much kind of a salty, marine, aquatic smell to this one that you do really pick up on pretty quickly. You know, I just did a spray there to kind of smell it as we're going through this, and right away you're getting that fresh balance. This one is balanced out very well, and at least when you're smelling this off the opening, you might assume that it's fresher than Nitro Red and Nitro Red Intensely. And I would agree. I do think that, especially off the start of the scent, it is fresher overall. So we'll go ahead and read off the full note breakdown here. Up top, we have pink pepper, grapefruit, tangerine, apple, black pepper, and pineapple. In the mid, we have cedarwood, salt, marine notes, cognac, and vetiver. And in the base, we have amberwood, musk, sandalwood, vanilla, and toffee. So a very healthy note breakdown. There's a lot going on there. And again, when you're looking at that, and especially for me, when I was looking at the note breakdown before I tried it, I was thinking, man, I wonder what direction this is going to go, because I'm seeing those notes. I'm seeing gold, both in terms of the name and, of course, the bottle. And myself and probably a few other people were kind of thinking, hey, is it going to be similar to this, Millesime Imperial? And I can tell you that, at least for me, not really. It might look like it's going to go that direction on paper, but it's really not that close to Millesime Imperial. Millesime Imperial is more melon focused, just different in general. This one, to me, doesn't quite go that direction. It still has more of that playful sweetness that Nitro Red has, for example. It's kind of in a different category, where Millesime Imperial is more of like a classy, truly premium and expensive smell, this Nitro Gold still goes in more of that playful direction, but with a twist. So at least for me, I'm just putting that out there relatively early on in the video. I don't believe it to be a Millesime Imperial clone. Now, can you argue that maybe they're pulling some inspiration from it and then doing a twist on it? Absolutely. And I would say that more than likely, that is what they were doing. I think that they were kind of looking at that DNA, looking at how it's built, and they were like, all right, let's try to do something similar, but with our own Nitro twist on it. And that's kind of what they did here. But I don't want people to think that this is going to be like a one-to-one or very similar smell to Millesime Imperial. It just isn't. And I'm okay with that. We have other Millesime Imperial clones as well out there. Armaf Club de Nuit Milestone is a really solid one. So, you know, I like the fact that this is kind of doing something different. So I already read off all of those notes. And again, for sure, I pick up on the marine notes and the salt. That's what's giving it that added freshness and kind of almost slight cooling smell that doesn't quite exist in the others. You know, I think Nitro Red Intensely might list off some sort of watery or aquatic note. I would have to double check, but it doesn't have this same level of freshness. Again, it's surprising to me that this one goes in that direction and feels as fresh as it is, but it does. When you start moving into the mid, you get a little bit more of like an aromatic smell. I don't think that they listed off lavender or sage or anything like that, but you do pick up on that. Just kind of a clean, fresh, slightly soapy leaning aromatic smell that you get somewhere in the mid. And then when you get into the dry down, you still kind of keep everything that you've been getting so far. The dry down is just a little tiny bit heavier, a little bit more of a woody focus, but you're still getting the marine notes and just kind of that saltiness that it has, and again, a little bit of that sweetness as well. Personally, I love how this one smells. As I mentioned, it was not at all what I was expecting. Just again, looking at kind of the notes, looking at the bottle, the name, I was expecting it to be very similar to Millesime Imperial. I just thought that maybe that's the direction that it was going to go. Not quite, but that's okay. I'm still happy with this one. And in fact, I think that especially with how this smells, I'm happier with it now than if it were like a very similar Millesime Imperial smell, because I was thinking just, you know, depending on how this goes, it might be something that is going to be either too sweet or too redundant or something like that. But luckily, that's not the case. The opening is really nice. You get a nice citrusy, orangey punch off the opening, a little bit of that grapefruit going along with it. Just a little bit sour, but not too much. It's not overly citrusy off the opening. It's more so fruity leaning, which is pretty consistent with the rest of the lineup. So let's go and talk about performance here. This is an extrait concentration. I think I mentioned that in the beginning of the video. They're kind of leaning into that pure parfum concentration now, which is nice. And so longevity on my skin has been a pretty consistent 9 hours or so. Okay, so right around that 9-hour mark of very usable longevity. Sometimes it might go just a little bit past. As I've been testing it throughout the past week, it's been more mild outside, not like hot yet, but also not cold. It's been like truly spring, which is honestly a pretty good time to be testing this one. And so that's kind of how it did. Projection is decently strong. Now, it's an extrait, and so typically that favors more so in trail, more so than like distance, but I did find that this one was pushing out a pretty good distance when I was testing it, but it also does leave a very heavy trail. This is the type of thing where when you either spray it on yourself and walk through a room, or when you spray it in the air, it hangs, okay? It'll stick around for a while, which I like. So performance is great. 9, maybe pushing 10 hours of longevity here is very solid, especially for a summer scent like this. Now, Nitro Red Intensely, and people are even gonna say Nitro Elixir, are they summer fragrances? Yes, I would say that they are. Sweeter leaning, 1000%, but summer scents. All of those perform good, but again, much sweeter. This one, surprisingly enough, is fresher and still has amazing performance. So I think a lot of people are going to appreciate the fact that this does have a little bit more of a oceanic kind of marine cooling freshness to it that was somewhat lost in the others. Still a little bit of that cognac in the base, still a little bit of that sweetness, don't get me wrong, but much fresher and much more summer oriented, and I think is probably going to be overall easier to pull off in the summertime for most people. And this is kind of an aside here, but I gotta say this too. amazing timing, you know, either for the brand or for Perfume Box for bringing this to market at the end of March. I mean, this, at least for everybody here in the United States, is perfect. You know, if we would have got this in October or something, you know, that just wouldn't have been as fun. So now we're going to have a full season to really wear this one in spring and summertime, and I'm excited. So I think this could easily be something that anybody who's a fan of the original Nitro Red Intensely and stuff are probably going to like this, just because it is still following a similar structure, but just with a different twist. And so if you like those and you want something that is fresher, more summer oriented, I would look into picking this one up for spring and summer. It is phenomenal. I think I might make this my scent of the day. I've already got a couple sprays on here, strong enough, but I really like this one. I like it more than I thought I was going to. Again, if it was just a Millesime Imperial clone, that would be a little bit boring. I have Millesime Imperial. I have Millesime Imperial clones. This is like really a decent twist on that idea. And I love it for that reason. This might even be something that I end up wearing more than Nitro Red Intensely, which I'm also a big fan of. So like I mentioned, if you want to grab this one, Perfume Box is the only discounter carrying it right now. $45. You can use my code CHAOS10 and save 10% off of that price. So really it works out to be a great deal, especially when we're talking extrait concentration, nice magnetic cap. Just everything about this stuff is good for the money. If you've tried this, let me know what you think of it. If you haven't tried it yet, do you plan on it? Or are you going to skip on this one? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.